Good evening and welcome to East Midlands today. And first tonight, the young father taunted by crowds moment before he fell to his death from the top of a tower block.
Osman Mohammed climbed up the building in Nottingham last July. An inquest heard today that the Iraqi Kurd was seriously depressed after a long battle for asylum. Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball was at today's inquest.
Osman Mohammed's mother and cousin travelled all the way from Iraq to hear chilling details of how he died, goaded to jump off a block of flats by a crowd below.
I was waiting for him for 10 years, and when I heard about his death, I was devastated and shocked and became ill. It was shocking that some people encouraged him to jump.
Today's inquest heard that Osman had become very distressed because he couldn't get a clear decision about his immigration status. He'd been fighting for asylum here for almost 10 years. He climbed onto the railing of this 7th-floor balcony. He'd taken cannabis and he seemed to be praying. A neighbour and police spent more than 2 hours trying to persuade him to get help. But suddenly he jumped or fell as taunts were shouted from below. The coroner said what happened here was horrific. A baying crowd willing a vulnerable man to jump. One witness said they thought it was funny, and it even carried on after the police arrived to clear the crowd away. It's exactly what happened in Derby, where another crowd encouraged 17-year-old Sean Dykes to jump off the Westfield car park. That prompted calls for extra police powers. Some of Osman Mohammed's friends were at today's inquest at Nottingham's Council House. They're astonished people can be so callous.
It's disgusting. I just can't understand it at all, why people would be shouting verbal abuse at a very vulnerable man that was ready to take his life.
Osman's family say they blame the immigration service for his death. The coroner said that was outside her remit, but she said it's clear his legal status had caused immense anxiety, and they should put those questions to the Home Office.
Well, Jeremy Ball has joined us here in the studio. Jeremy, what are the immigration authorities saying about Mohammed Osman's death?
Well, Dominic, we approached both the Home Secretary and the Immigration Minister at the Conservative conference in Manchester today. They didn't have time to speak to us, but I have heard from the UK Border Agency. They described Osman Mohammed's death as a tragedy. They say deepest sympathies go out to his family and friends, and they told me that they had been helping him return voluntarily to Iraq. But today's inquest really suggested that his legal status was pretty unclear and that he'd been at his wits' end over this.
Why was it so confusing then?
Well, it's often confusing. These asylum cases are often quite difficult to prove either way. We know he'd made an asylum claim. He'd been turned down. He was in the process of making a fresh claim. But then what happened was that the people giving him legal help simply ran out of funding. Now, what seems to have happened is that left him homeless, without any permission to stay here or to work. It meant he didn't have any money, he didn't have any legal support, but he couldn't go home either. And his friends think that was really the final straw.
What a sad, sad case, Jeremy. Thanks very much.